If this is you, you're probably staring at your phone right now, wondering if she's even thinking about you. You've got no contact, maybe for a few days, maybe a few weeks, and you keep telling yourself she'll reach out. She has to. But deep down, there's that pit in your stomach whispering, what if she doesn't? Maybe this feels familiar. Every time your phone buzzes, your heart jumps. You check, hoping it's her, but it's not. It never is. And the silence that was supposed to make her miss you, it's starting to feel like punishment. You thought no contact would give you power, that it would make her realize what she lost. Instead, it's making you question everything, your worth, your value, even if she ever cared at all. You replay the memories, the laughs, the late night talks, the look in her eyes that said you were enough. But now it's like she's erased you completely. You see her online, living her life, posting like nothing happened, and it burns. You wonder, did I mean that little? If this is you, you're not weak, you're human. You just want her to see what she lost, to feel that same emptiness she left you with. But what if there's a way to do that without waiting by the phone? What if you could flip the script and make her start to wonder if losing you was the biggest mistake of her life? Would you want to know how? Listen, most guys get this part completely wrong. When no contact fails, they panic. They think it's time to break. Silence, to chase, to prove their worth again. But that reaction, that's exactly what keeps them stuck. Because the truth is, no contact was never about her. It was about you. See, a lot of men treat no contact like a strategy to win someone back, when in reality, it's supposed to be a process to win yourself back. The moment you start using silence as a tool for manipulation, waiting for her to notice, to feel regret, to come running, you've already given away your power. That's not strength, that's emotional dependence disguised as confidence. Here's the core masculine principle most men never hear. A man grounded in himself doesn't go no contact to create absence in her life. He does it to create presence in his own. It's about reclaiming your focus, your direction, your identity outside of that relationship. Because when you stop orbiting around her world, you become the kind of man who doesn't need her to come back, but she'll start to wish she could. You don't get her to regret losing you by disappearing. You do it by becoming someone she no longer has access to, someone she can't recognize anymore because you've outgrown the version of yourself that needed her validation. That's real control. That's real masculine power. He sits in his car long after the engine's gone cold. The glow from his phone screen flickers across his face. One last look at her profile. She's smiling, surrounded by people he's never met, and it hits him harder than he expected. She looks fine, like she never even noticed I disappeared. The plan was simple, no contact. Pull away, let her feel the loss, make her realize what she gave up. But that belief keeps you trapped in the very energy that pushed her away, needing her reaction to validate your worth. The truth? No contact doesn't fail because she didn't come back. It fails because you never actually left her world. You just hid in silence while still revolving around her in your mind. Another lie men tell themselves is that pulling away will somehow make her chase. But real attraction isn't born from games, it's born from growth. She doesn't miss the guy who vanished, she misses the man who knew who he was before she met him. When you reconnect with that version of yourself, the one with purpose, direction, and emotional self-control, that's when the balance shifts. She didn't ghost you, you disappeared from yourself. No contact isn't about waiting for her to call. It's about remembering who you were before you forgot your own value. Wake up to this when your peace no longer depends on her attention. She'll feel the difference, and that's when regret begins. The 3% man doesn't chase outcomes, he leads himself. While most guys go no contact hoping she'll notice the silence, he understands that absence means nothing without evolution. He isn't waiting for a text, a sign, or an apology. He's using the distance to rebuild the version of himself that he lost somewhere along the way. This is what he understands. Her attention isn't the prize, his peace is. He knows that true attraction comes from grounded confidence, not from trying to provoke emotion in someone else. He doesn't measure his progress by how she reacts, but by how calm and centered he feels, even in uncertainty. When she pulls away, he doesn't spiral or strategize. He pauses, he breathes, he chooses growth over guessing. That inner stillness becomes his power. It's not indifference, it's mastery. This is how he leads with presence, not pressure. He doesn't try to convince her of his worth, he embodies it. He's not performing confidence, he's living it. And that quiet strength, that unwavering self-respect speaks louder than any message he could send. The 3% man doesn't hope she regrets losing him. He becomes the kind of man whose loss he creates a regret all on its own. He wakes up one morning and realizes the ache feels different. Not gone, but quieter, like the volume is finally turned down. First thing he does isn't check his phone. No scrolling, no searching for signs, just stillness. For the first time in weeks, it feels okay to breathe. There's sunlight spilling through the blinds, dust floating in the air like slow-moving thoughts. He sits up and catches his reflection in the mirror. Tired eyes, yes, but there's something new behind them, a kind of recognition. He remembers this man, the one who used to move through the world with purpose, who didn't need anyone to remind him of his value. Somewhere along the way, he had traded that strength for hope that someone else would see it first. It hits him. She was never supposed to give him peace. She was only meant to show him where he'd lost it. The silence wasn't her punishment. It was his invitation to come back home to himself. He stands, stretches, and feels the weight begin to lift. Not because she's reached out, but because he finally has. Back to his life. Back to his discipline. Back to the quiet confidence that doesn't need to prove anything. There's no dramatic moment, no text, no closure. Just a deep, grounding calm. The kind that comes when you realize you're done waiting to be chosen. Because you finally remember, you already were. She may never come back, but when you finally come home to yourself, you'll realize she was never what you were missing. But as the days stretched into weeks, the silence started to turn on him. What was supposed to make her miss him just made him miss her more. The quiet was supposed to be strength, but lately it just feels like an echo chamber filled with old memories. The smell of her shampoo still lingers in his jacket. Her voice still shows up in his head at 2 a.m., soft and uninvited. He tells himself, she'll come around, she'll remember what we had. But deep down, another thought whispers louder, what if she doesn't? He scrolls through old messages, stops at one where she said, you always make me feel safe. He wonders when that stopped being true. He wonders when he stopped feeling like himself. Outside, the world keeps moving, laughter from the sidewalk, cars passing, life going on. Inside there's stillness, heavy, quiet stillness. He looks at his reflection in the window, tired eyes, stubble, a man waiting for something that may never come. And then something shifts. For the first time, he sees how much of his energy has been spent chasing a ghost, how much of his strength has been tied to someone else's attention. He breathes in deep, sets the phone down, and lets the silence stay. Not as a weapon this time, but as a choice. Because maybe the real power isn't in making her regret losing him. Maybe it's in becoming the man she wouldn't even recognize anymore. The man who no longer needs her to. A lot of men believe no contact is about control, about creating space. So she finally realizes what she lost.